Thank you everyone for taking the time this afternoon to learn more about soul machines and robot health. I think Alex's introduction into the metaverse is very timely, given that there's been a lot of buzz recently about some of the major tech companies investing in and positioning themselves in that space. And I'm actually going to touch on that a little bit towards the end of my talk. But I wanted to introduce you to soul machines and talk about how we're solving real world customer experiences using empathetic digital people. So just a little bit about myself before I get into the talk. So as Alec mentioned, I worked at Watson, which was IBM's AI platform. I was part of the early crew where we helped commercialize a lot of different products. I was a product manager on the Watson Assistant product, focused on the NLP and the AI behind that. And that was part of my journey before joining Soul Machines about 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, I have a background actually in bioengineering, and I've worked in the biotech investment space as well. So this is a nice mix of using my biology when it comes to the AI and the brain and bringing that together, as well as my interest in computer science coming together. So a lot of us can appreciate that there's a lot of money being spent on customer centers. I think, as Alec mentioned, and earlier on, we had chatbots that came out back in 2015, 16, 14. There was a lot of interest in really focusing on how to help the customer service calls. I know a bunch of us have been on call centers before where we have to wait many minutes, press a lot of buttons, and we really hope that chatbots were going to be the answer to that. And in some cases, they have been. In some cases, they haven't been. And there's different reasons why, but I think there's still this problem that we're seeing across the industry when it comes to turnover and just cost of managing customer care and customer experience overall. And I think we can all appreciate that it's leading to a lot of different areas, whether it's stress, boredom, insufficient training. You're seeing a lot of burnout happening in these jobs. And so we know that these jobs aren't necessarily the most rewarding jobs out there in the industry. And we are, as this community, interested in figuring out how we can help people in that way. And I would challenge us to think about this not just in the call center space, but think about this generally from a customer experience perspective. Whether you're at a front line in a retail shop or at a hospital or at a bank, in a lot of cases, there is this extreme empathy required, and for many folks, a job that either has high burnout or turnover. And we're hoping that technology can help assist and alleviate a lot of those folks on the front line. If you think about the building blocks of this customer experience, it really comes down to knowledge base, having the right answer and knowing what to say, personalization, which we've seen. Hi, Shantanu, welcome back. I know that your favorite color is orange, so let's talk about your favorite car in the color orange, for example. Contextual awareness. Hey, Shantanu, I know you bought this car 2 years ago. Maybe we can get you something that matches interior. And then this emotional response of really feeling empathetic that way. A lot of the technology today, we do okay when it comes to the top 3, and we're doing decently well in the bottom in some cases, but it does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of investment. And I'm sure many of you are well aware of this, just building out your own projects in the bot space. But I bring this up to kind of underline the point that in order to be successful, we need to have all 4 of these elements to replicate and create a really majestic experience. I think for those, short tail use cases, reset my password, very transactional. Okay, great. Maybe you just need to get the transaction and navigate that way. But when you're working on sensitive topics, ones that require a bit more, there might be a lot of more uncertainty. There might be something that's new to folks. Going up this scale and this triangle of customer experience is definitely something that we need to work towards to create a fulfilling experience. And so I'm going to show you a little video about soul machines, and then I'll talk to you about how we're kind of tackling that pyramid in our approach.
Shantanu, I think you have to share the audio as well.
Thanks, guys. I will do that right now. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. Let's try again.
We spent years researching and developing our Human OS platform, which is powered by a digital brain. This enables our digital people to process complex information, take input, and respond accordingly, creating an unparalleled customer engagement experience. Soul Machines provides unparalleled AGI to autonomously animate digital people as the ultimate platform for human-machine collaboration.
Perfect, and I appreciate that individual who called that out. So conceptually, we're approaching this concept through this idea of a visual modality that takes into account both the audio and text-based interface. And so what does that mean, right? We're really thinking about empathetic interactions through these digital people. And what we've seen with our customers and what we're seeing in the market is that as people go through their journeys of this customer experience, they may have various emotions, both positive and negative or neutral, and helping to shape that through this multimedia interaction is really powerful. And I'll get into some statistics and some use cases right after this, but just wanted to tee up kind of how we're thinking about this overall. Really, many of you probably can appreciate that empathy and emotions do provide that support. And I think when you speak to anyone in this customer service experiences, feeling like you've been appreciated, acknowledged, understood is really important as you're trying to work through some complicated topics like a banking system or in healthcare area. And sometimes it's hard to do that with just a text-based area. I mean, you'll hear more about that in other programs, but we've seen that just like we do with humans, having the nonverbal can help supplement the verbal aspect. Again, coming back to the knowledge base, in addition to the emotion, the empathy, and the personalization. There's a lot of ways when you think about what is being said and how it's being said. And we focus a lot on how it's being said, such that it can convey additional meaning and such that it can take advantage of all these digital experiences that we're all now experiencing, a lot more in our daily lives. And we really believe that at the heart of this interaction is that empathy, and we see our digital people able to support those interactions. And so let me talk about a statistic that we've seen in some of the research that's out there. So digital people, virtual humans, avatars, those tend to be words that are synonymous in this concept of using a visual element. And there's been some studies that showcase actually digital people and virtual humans are able to create an environment that people are more likely to share. This is this idea that when you're not feeling judged by another human element, you're more likely to provide some experiences, open up a bit more because you generally are trying to be helped out without that retribution or that judgment that we may have seen growing up. Now, many people ask, well, does it need to be hyper realistic versus a cartoon character? Here at Soul Machines, our thesis is that given that we're very used to since babies looking at the human face, having that same element would actually create a more lasting relationship that's something that's cartoon or not. It doesn't mean we can't support cartoonish characters. And actually we are supporting characters that we will be supporting characters that are not necessarily hyper realistic, but our company to date and our focus has been to date to create these hyper realistic digital people that you can interact with such that people have more of a natural interaction. And so you're starting to see this in use cases and both in the health side, right? Highly sensitive topics, people aren't sure. And we're starting to launch digital people to help us in that space. Sam was one of our digital COVID-19 helpers that helped out last year. People were able to ask questions around the world to her and try to get a response about something that otherwise was really complicated in that space. Or the World Health Organization also launched 6 months ago, or actually a bit more than that, Florence, which is a digital health assistant. And she's helping to not only talk about COVID-19, but educate folks about tobacco use and the harm for that. She's available in 5 to 6 languages and expanding all the major UN languages, but it provides this conduit of having someone that you can speak to, understand, and feel like you're being acknowledged without being judged by a peer, for example. And so then we go back to the other side, which is this personalized, empathetic interaction. And most of us can appreciate this, but just to kind of hammer the point down, these are campaigns that are more emotionally connected tend to drive people towards more sales, market share, and just generally better customers overall. And being able to establish connection online really helps with creating a better overall brand experience. And so that's why many brands that we're working with are thinking about how to do that on this online trend experience, especially now that most of us are sharing and experiencing a video first world. So for example, one of our customers is Wendy. She's out of a bank in Australia. Her name is Wendy, the customer is a bank out of Australia, and she's helping their employees think about practicing and interviewing around financial planning scenarios. Again, you have a very interesting topic, you have a little bit of ambiguity, but she's there to give them support, give acknowledgement, and help people walk through exercises as they think about learning and thinking about how to prepare for their financial future. Or Ruth, who's Nestle's digital human or digital baking coach, is actually walking through their employees and their customers about how to bake a cookie. As many of you may have tried, Nestle provides an at-home baking solution, cookies more or less. And in many cases, people still have questions about how to best cook it. They may have a little bit of uncertainty. For many people, this might be one of the first times they're baking. And they launched Ruth on their website to support that experience and give them another avenue to connect with the brand and also connect across the different questions they may have. So another way to think about this is learning. If you think about us as humans, there's one modality where we might just see something on a whiteboard. If you go back to your school days, there was another idea that not only if you looked at the whiteboard but wrote it down, you might have some better retention, and then you might hear it and see it to yourself. So there's this idea that using multimodality or having this rich environment can actually help improve retention and education. I think that use case is becoming even more apparent as we think about education in the remote world, as we think about learning and training, both for enterprises and students. And we're starting to see some of those effects as people are using the power of multimodality to drive that forward. And so Maryville is a university here in the United States they are creating life coaches to help their students think through their classes and think through how they are going to best support their education. As you can see, Maryville had picked 2 different digital people. They look quite different, and I'll get into that a bit more. But you have this they may look like, they may act like the brands that you're looking for. It comes back to how are these brands going to experience themselves online? What does it look like? What does it mean to create an empathetic customer experience? And how do you really engage in a multi-modality experience? And so we're really seeing that this engagement with empathy really drives us forward when it comes to helping us position and make people feel more secure and safe as they go through a lot of uncertainty that's out there. So Alec mentioned that this crowd likes to see some numbers. So I wanted to just share some of the early data that we're getting from our early use cases and customers that we're seeing. As I'm sure many of you have done, if you're part of the About World, conversations are important, customer satisfaction is important, and just the ability to answer questions, deflect is important. And so we're seeing a lot of our digital people being able to help drive business metrics for our customers to date, whether it's NPS with Yumi, being a brand ambassador at over 90%, to supporting click-through rates and being able to help drive additional workflows and drive additional business metrics throughout the experience. And so there's a lot of interest in our customers, especially as they get adjusted to the new normal, to figure out how to best represent themselves in these digital worlds. So in summary, for kind of this first section here, I just want to talk about empathetic customer experience and this empathy deficit that I've talked about. A lot of areas in which we're trying to build up to. People are good at creating the knowledge, but how you deliver that message is important. We see ourselves, and we see a lot of our customers and ad agencies and folks that are looking at this see a place where, as we become cookieless, as people become more data in terms of centric about what they're working on, they're looking to systems that can bring real-time insights about the interaction, understand what is happening such that you can drive them to the right solution, but also do that in a way that's empathetic and that's personalized for them. And we're seeing that, as I mentioned before, with brands across the US and the world in various sectors, from CPG to education and healthcare in that place. And we see this as a way to build off of the great innovations that's come out over the past decade when it comes to the interest in the bot landscape. So just changing gears a little bit, I know Alec had mentioned this in the preamble, but it's really about the life, Metaverse is becoming a really interesting experience for all of us. And I think, as you guys may have heard me allude to, many of us are becoming more normalized to this idea of virtual interactions, digital worlds that are being created in many ways. And we're seeing digital people, and what we do is we create an autonomously animated characters, right? We focus on autonomously animating these characters to make them come to life. And we're seeing that become even more relevant as content is being created, as worlds are being created in a way to make this scale up. There's only so many ways in which you can animate a digital character. And we believe, and I'll get to this in a little bit, but there's one way that does it at scale, and that requires technology, a lot of which we're working on here at Soul Machines to autonomously animate these digital characters. So I wanted to just, before I wrap up, I just wanted to introduce you to kind of where we're going to as a company, give you a little insights into some of the new features that we're working on and the excitement around the Metaverse. And I'll talk to you about that autonomous animation a bit more before I end. So I'm just gonna play this video. It's about a little less than 2 minutes, just giving you a flavor, and then I'm happy to take questions and move on after that as well.
Hi, I'm Viola. I'm excited to show you the results of our game-changing research into humanizing AI. Autonomous animation enables digital people like me to take input from the environment and respond in real time. We've now significantly enhanced my ability to respond emotionally, give great eye contact, and react to my changing environment. This makes for a truly engaging interaction. I was made in the groundbreaking digital DNA blender and effortlessly launched using our ddNA Studio with only a few clicks. My identity and personality were crafted by blending features like skin texture and tone, face shape, eye color, voice, language, and of course, hair. Now, in minutes, anyone can create a unique, high-quality digital person that embodies the soul of a brand. And they can do it using the most advanced AI, CGI, and autonomous animation technology in the market today. And now we have some cutting-edge new features that my digital friend Sam will tell you about.
Thanks, Viola. After years of research, I'm excited to announce new features in Soul Machines Human OS that unlock the emerging field of humanized AI. So welcome to the revolutionary next generation of dynamic content awareness and interaction. We've created an immersive world that elevates content and allows people to focus on what's most important. We've supercharged my awareness of the dynamic content around me. By using gestures and gaze direction, I ensure high-caliber messaging gets the attention it deserves. Thanks to years of research, we're making the leap from facial gestures to fully embodied gestural performance. I'll be able to use my whole body to communicate from head to toe. And all the while I'm serving brand new cinematic cuts that boost focus and direct attention. Best of all, it happens autonomously, in real time, without writing a single line of code. We're proud of how far we've come, and excited to bring technology to life.
So just one caveat there is sometimes when you stream a video on a video conference, the audio and video may not match. So if you saw any lag there, it's most likely because we're doing video on video. But in terms of takeaways, I think you're starting to see how we're building out beyond just going from shoulder up, as you saw in some of the earlier use cases, to actually expanding to a world where you can take advantage of the screen that's around you. I think many of you can appreciate that all of us have kind of got stuck into this world where maybe you're an arm length away and we're all in our little Brady boxes. But as we think about how to take advantage of the screens around us, we can start to use other nonverbal communications to help focus, drive attention, drive rapport and understanding that otherwise would be lost or too cumbersome in a text or voice-based only modality. And so just the last thing to kind of leave you with in terms of how we're thinking about the future, this is a framework that Soul Machines has come up with. It's available on our website, but conceptually, when you think about autonomously animating digital people, there's only a few ways you can do that. Many of you may have seen some of the work that's coming out of Facebook or Epic and their Unreal Engine, where they basically put on a suit or a camera or some sort of headset, and you're able to move your own avatar in real time. And we think that's great. It's very much part of the motion capture area where you're able to put this in a digital world. However, it doesn't allow for scalability when it comes to having folks on the other side or it's reliant on a human always being there. So that doesn't scale very well. It's almost like having another contact center agent when you're thinking about brand experiences. I think it's great from like a B2C experience and for the end consumer, but as brands think about how to create content that scales, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. You also have this idea of GANs, which are these videos that are being recreated. We see that as a bit of a video, maybe re-scripting in that way. Again, it requires a lot of retraining and content in that sense. What we're trying to do at Soul Machines is this idea of autonomous animation on the right-hand side, where it's dynamically generated animation. We see ourselves at level 3, and what we're working towards is level 4 and 5 through our research projects. I can't get into that here in this talk, but I encourage you guys and gals out there, if you're interested in working with us and partnering with us, to reach out. We'd love to talk about how we can enable you guys out there to create engaging experiences with your customers and with the broader community at large. So thank you again for your time, and really appreciate, Alec, your invitation to speak to the group here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was really impressive. And I can tell you when we're not on a busy Zoom, the characters are even better. Like the lips match up and really, really compelling. And it's really like whenever you're starting a community, it's sort of like the work behind the scenes is you have to seed it. And whether you're creating an online forum all the way to a metaverse, it's really hard to be kind of the first people there. So I see like the ability of digital people to almost be like the game non-player characters to the next level. So anywhere from like essentially a Walmart greeter all the way to someone who's like a coach or really helping you with some issue in the world. So really, really compelling how this could come together. And lots of people commenting, and we have a few questions for you. So I'll start reading those off for you.
Sure.
So this is from Miles. How does your firm think about the uncanny valley when designing these digital personas?
Yeah, it's a great question, one that we get quite a bit. And I kind of have two responses to kind of talk about in this way. One is in terms of uncanny valley as the techno. So for those who aren't familiar, the uncanny valley is this concept that technology, gets really anthropomorphized or becomes more human-like, but it still misses the mark, so it feels a little creepy. Conceptually, that's the idea of uncanniness. And so many folks in the industry have rated ours to be the most advanced when it comes to the uncanny valley, when it comes to quality, when it comes not only to the CGI, but the animations that come around that. And that's a lot of the work that we've done coming out of the lab. I know I didn't mention this in the talk, but the inventor of our technology, his name's Dr. Mark Sagar. He comes out of Hollywood and won 2 Academy Awards for his work on Avatar and King Kong. And so he's a world expert when it comes to demonstrating emotion and feeling through the screens. And he's using that same principles and learnings from that into making real-time animations. And so we've been rated as one of the top, if not the forward most advanced company when it comes to this autonomous animation aspects. The other answer I give to this, and it's a little bit more tongue-in-cheek, but I'll share with this group because maybe they'll have some their own insights in this. I've seen it be a little bit more of a technological, generational acceptance. So those, I'm going to use broad strokes here, but like those of us who might have been over 50 really, really like it because it's going back to the good old days of in-person interactions. Those maybe under 25 are kind of used to this aspect, so it's not much of an issue. You have that middle generation, I'll call it the Terminator generation, that kind of grew up when machines are kind of scary or unclear. And that's where I've seen a little bit of hesitation when it comes to acceptance in this space. I welcome feedback either directly to me on the chat or email about that concept, but I've seen that happen anecdotally. And so it really comes down to creating an experience in that way. Last thing I'll just say to that question is, digital people, we want to offer this as a channel, as a choice to our customers. Ultimately, we want to allow our customers, so enterprises, the ability to provide their customers and users choice in how they want to interact. We think this is a great modality, but just like the radio and video killed the radio star, but radio's still around. It's just different use cases. We see the same thing with us. I see the same thing with us when it comes to this video modality. There still will be reasons why to do a chat-based thing only, for example.
Great, thank you. This is from Delphina. How do you adjust digital people's voice and tone depending on the mindset, age, or attention of the humans listening?
Yeah, that's a great question, and this goes to the heart of part of our technology. So we call it the digital brain. The brain is what kind of drives the personality of that digital person, depending on how our clients want to configure that. And so based off of those configurations, you're starting to change how we autonomously animate. And that's a lot of what we do as part of the platform that we're bringing to market. For many of our customers, they've already chosen their NLP of choice, whether it's the large ones or small ones. And they're able to plug it in and start seeing how it comes to life in that space. And then be able to start to add multimedia content and refine some of the content such that the digital person can respond appropriately, but then do it in the right tone, as was mentioned in the question.
Okay. We got a few more. From Alex, how do you measure ROI on this, since nonverbal communication is one directional from bot to human, but humans are bidirectional?
So I read that question. It's an interesting one. I think it's definitely, we're trying to create a bi-directional experience. Just like Alec and I are seeing each other on the video here, I'm seeing his body language, he's seeing mine, all of you are seeing mine. So the digital person's able to, with the camera on, permission, of course, with the camera on and microphone, be able to interpret what's going on. Equally so, the end user is able to see how the digital person is interacting. And so by creating that feedback loop, we believe you're able to create a more intimate interaction and understand the subtleties that are coming out of a conversation, much more so than just relying on emojis, for example, in a different world. So I think in terms of the bidirectionalness, that's something that we believe will bring into the market and will only get better as some of the underlying technology improves. And as we all just get more used to and accustomed to the video area. And then in terms of ROI, I think a lot of our customers and businesses are using, standard ROI metrics, right? Am I able to get engagement? Am I able to drive a workflow? Am I able to really get satisfaction? What's interesting here, and this might be a little counterintuitive when it comes to contact center metrics, but given the cost is not too much relative to the alternative, if a customer wants to talk to the brand for 12 minutes, that's actually great. You're able to get your questions, you're feeling acknowledged and heard, they're not being rushed off, a traditional customer center call where they're being measured on average handling time. They're actually being able to say, listen, we're engaged. Like, by all means, feel free to talk to Sam, our digital, Seuss about wine or something, like, for all you want. And you feel engaged, comfortable, and it's a win-win for a lot of these brands. So I think as technology continues to persist, some of the standard metrics will continue and some of the new ones will emerge around this space.
Okay, great. We've got two more questions and then we do have to cut off to move to the next presentation. So this is from Joseph, what are the limits in using AI to duplicate a human's range of expression or body language?
Yeah, great question, Joseph. I think AI is just getting better. As we know, we're very much at the edge of this in terms of replicating emotion and in that way. I think as a concept, if you think about your movies, your favorite cinematic movies, both CGI and animated based, you're able to express a lot of emotion, and you're seeing that happen quite a bit in Hollywood today. So, I would say the limits are kind of to the extent that the processors and the videographs and all that can do that. I think where we hit that, where that limit hits us a little bit more, is we do this in real time. Many of these studios do a recording, they post process this, they have a lot of time. These Hollywood studios spend millions of dollars, if not multi-million dollars, to create these productions in the right way. Whereas our, IP, our research, and our product really focuses on making that happen in real time. And so we've done a lot to do that, and it's only getting better as our improvements in technologies happen to really have the expressionness. I hope you saw in some of the videos, and you're welcome to go to our website and interact with one of our digital people. You can kind of get an idea of the range of emotions that are available. And I'll say one thing just to talk about emotions, since that's an important key theme here. Our digital, this ties back to the personality question. In some use cases, you may not want a digital person to express a full range of emotions. So although you might see some of our clients and interact with them, if for example, for a customer service person, our customers might not want someone who's too down, who's too down to the dumps. They want to be someone who's happy and go lucky. So our platform enables full range of emotions, but certain customers may choose to create a range of emotions, which is applicable to that use case, that persona that they're building, such that it represents their brand as they would see fit. It's similar to, putting on your job hat or putting on that customer service hat and being the good old smiling front-facing person that you want to be, for example, right? Versus someone who has to talk about bad news, you might have a different set of emotions to support that, and that our platform allows for that, depending on the use case.
Great. And last one. This person was trying to kind of dig further into what is like the use case of digital humans if everyone in the metaverse has their own avatars.
Yeah.
And kind of most of the processes will be automated.
Yeah, no, this is a great question, right? This is one that it's actively being discussed and talked about. And I think you're right. I think many people might have their own avatars, and that's they're motion captured or they're being rigged, or you're controlling your avatars in the world that we're in, right? And so that requires a user-generated world where there's only user-generated content that people can interact with. What we see happening and in discussions we have is there might be worlds or content where you might want to have, for lack of a better word at the moment, like NPCs, right? Or supporting characters, or you might want to have a sales associate that represents a brand, let's say, in the world that you're living in. It's hard, brands today will have to then employ humans to do the one-to-one matching, that's happening in contact centers today. It's like almost like answering the telephone. And today they've done some things around chatbots where you might have a chat channel where they might have one agent to 5 different chat windows going at once. We know that exists as well too, to deflect cost. We see a world where actually you can have since everyone's in an avatar already, you can have these avatars autonomously animated to act on behalf of these brands or the creators in this case to kind of complement and supplement the world and really scale out. Maybe this is hard to imagine today, but as you think about the worlds that we're creating, these digital worlds can be infinite, right? It's only limited by our imagination when you think about pixels and digital worlds in that way. And how do you make all those worlds infinitely interesting? It's limited, there's a natural limit when there's a number of how many people can be there, but technology and autonomous animation can really continue to bring that to life.
All right, excellent. All right, thanks so much.
That was
really, really impressive. And if anyone has any further questions, they can definitely reach out to you. We'll push your contact info, and they can email you as well.